The African American Legend series highlights the accomplishments of blacks in areas as varied as politics, sports, aviation, business, literature, and music. We will explore how African Americans have succeeded in areas where they'd been previously excluded because of segregation, racism, and lack of opportunity. I'm your host, Dr. Roscoe C. Brown, Jr., and with us today is Woodie King, Jr., the founder of the new Federal Theater that is celebrating its 40th anniversary.
40 years. I've been out there 40 years.
Now tell me, how did you start?
Well, I started in 1970, but we didn't get incorporated until early 1971.
We is who? You and
me
who
else? And 3 or 4 others who thought that it was absolutely necessary to have a small nonprofit theater in New York City that would do black works by major American authors. And there was other companies, but they were dealing with the company, and we were dealing with the plays. We just wanted to deal with a play, and that's why we did so many different
What's the difference between
plays.
a company and a play?
Well, a company, you concentrate on the actors, directors, and designers, and really focus on them and how they work. Mm-hmm. And with the company, you really focus on the playwright. It's about the play. Mm-hmm. And our early works, in our first 10 years, we had a hit every year because we focused.
Name some of them.
Black Girl by J.E. Franklin.
I remember Black Girl.
That went on as a film directed by the late Ossie Davis. Ed Bullen's The Taking of Miss Janey, which won the Drama Critics Circle Award, one of the first small theaters to win that award. What the Wine Sellers by Ron Milner, that toured all over the United States. For colored girls who considered suicide when the rain was enough. We did it, moved out from our theater to a public theater, from there to Broadway, ran for 3 years on Broadway in Australia, London, Paris. We took it all over the world. Every year we had a hit play.
Now the focus is you select a play.
Yes.
And then you help to produce the play. That means you select the actors and the director, or they do that?
No, I select the play, and I work with the playwright on focusing the play, making a statement that has never been made in theater before, hopefully, that make black people comfortable, that is about who we are as a people, our aesthetics and our soul and how we operate as a people. And because of who I am, the plays usually focus on some sort of family structure, trying to overcome some great odds, usually plays about women who go through all kinds of different situations, but at the end overcome them, because that's the kind of family I came out of.
Now, how do you get your actors?
Actors, we audition, like we did a play on W.E.B. Du Bois, and we might have auditioned 75 actors to get 4 or 5 actors. We did another piece last month on Charlie Yardbird Parker, when he died in the Baroness's apartment. It was 6 actors, but we might audition 100 people. And when I say we...
Are there that many actors around?
Oh, God, yes.
Tell me about it.
Oh, God. Actors in New York City, this is where they come to, New York City, to hone their craft, to look for opportunities. They go from New York to Los Angeles. Very few go to London or Paris or any other place. Since the resident professional theater is around the country now, in every major city, there's a resident professional theater. They still don't hire black artists. They really hire maybe 1 every 3 years or something like that. So we still are one of the primary producing theaters in the country.
That's very interesting. You say they don't hire black artists. That means the resident, predominantly white theater.
Yeah.
Other than racism, why do you think that is?
Because their subscribers are usually subscribed out, and they are looking for European. They're usually European. They're looking for a corroboration of who they are as a people.
Now, over these 40 years, 70s, 80s, 90s, how have you seen black theater change?
Well, the black theater, it changed pretty much from very angry protests, making statements about the conditions of black people in America in the 60s, and then the 70s it began to explore who we were as a people. In the 80s, it was more really a quiescent period. It was searching, looking for identity. You would see a reoccurrence of those writers like James Baldwin, Richard Wright, and Ralph Ellison, who talked about identity. The theater finally had caught up with them, you know, and it was about identity. The 90s moved towards hip hop, the new culture, rap, the mega trend idea, Yankelovich, you know, the world upside down, how you straighten the world out, you know, and that's how it has changed over the years.
Now, how do you select your plays?
Well, I get plays from agents, from other writers who've been produced at our theater, and I read maybe 5 or 6 plays a month. I go to maybe another 5 or 6 a month. So I can only do 4 plays a year, but I got maybe a stack of plays of 30 or 40 plays that could be produced anywhere, anytime. They're great. They're great. I just don't have the money to do them. You know?
Now, how do you get your money?
From the grants from the New York State Council on the Arts, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Schubert Organization, the Lucille Lortel Foundation, and I'm with an organization called the Coalition of Theaters of Color, which Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee helped us really lobby for. And we went through the city council, and our council people, Charles Barron in particular, Inez Dinkins, Leroy Comrie, really helped us petition, in a sense, the city council. And we have a line item in that where these 10 theaters get a huge grant every year. And it's been very, very life-saving for a lot of theaters.
Now, you're located down at Henry Street.
In Henry Street Settlement.
About how many people can come to a given performance, your size of your theater?
The size of the theater we operate in is 100 seats. And we do 25 performances. Sometimes we do 30, but most of the time we do 25 performances over 5 weeks. And so it's ample time for the New York community to come out and see the work. And if it is successful, it will move on to another venture and be seen again.
How many of your plays have moved on to other ventures?
God, like I said, in our first
Dozens.
10 or 12 years, we had a hit every year. That means it moves on to somewhere else. Over the years since then, we've had maybe 15 or 20.
Now, it's based on your judgment. Now, how did you get to be so good at judging these plays?
Well, I'm not good at, I'm good at judging them, but you gotta understand, like, when I can do 5 plays a year, you know one of them more than likely will appeal to black people. Because one of the things I tell a lot of young people, if you don't move among black people, if you don't, if you're not a people person, if you don't hang out at churches Sundays, if you don't go to the clubs, you don't know what black people are thinking. And so that is a part of it all, you know, to get to know the culture of the people, the culture of women, and what they are thinking. Therefore, the plays that we do appeal to them. And I'm at the theater every night, so I stand in the back of the theater and I listen. I listen to what bothers people, what they love, and eventually you come to that common denominator. There's a common denominator that runs through us all. We are basically, we all came here on the slave ship, so we know we got that in common, you know, and most of us migrated from the South to the urban North. And whether we're in Chicago on the South Side or Black Bottom, Detroit, or Harlem, or Watts, because we really are trans-urban people, and we could really relate what's happening in Harlem to what's happening in Watts, what's happening in Watts to what's happening in South Side of Chicago. So that commonality, that common denominator, helps me in a great way choose what I do.
Now, with the change in the population, more younger people, more people with higher education, more people in the corporate world, to what extent are the younger black people identifying with these plays that you're putting on?
Well, I don't, again, I have 100 seats, okay? Now, this may sound kind of strange, but what I stopped doing maybe 10 years ago, I tried to relate to people in their 40s and up.
Okay.
And I don't try and reach back to and get an 18-year-old. I will find a young director and help him get a play on somewhere else, even give them money, to get that play on somewhere else. And what I found is when I try to produce a hip hop or a rap kind of play, somehow the audience don't come out. And usually hip hop artists don't like to come to the theater.
Now that's interesting because hip hop is the prevailing genre in the culture and the arts. How can people from your generation, my generation, bridge that gap to this younger generation, because they're the ones who are going to be carrying the torch in the future? How can we bridge that gap?
My thoughts at this point is, I don't think we can bridge it.
Why?
In the arts. Why, right? That's it. Okay.
Right.
Because if I came up on Ralph Ellison and James Baldwin and Richard Wright and Gauguin and Picasso and Huey Lee Smith and Jacob Lawrence and Roman Byrd, I can't force a young person to look at that and say, or read that and say, do you see what I see in this?
What about exposure? Because all of those artists that you talked about deal with the universal theme of blacks struggling against the oppression and the prejudice that they face, and they've done it through excellence. So there's a mark there. There's
a mark, but I don't think a lot of young people deal with Roman Bearden, for example, the way August Wilson did. August Wilson found in Roman Bearden his piano lesson, Milhand's Lunch Pail, or other plays that he wrote, and he found within his work the way to communicate to a wider audience. I don't see that in hip hop.
I think that everything is what they call regression to the mean, comes back to the center. I think even though hip hop started as a very counterculture movement, much of it is coming to the central in terms of how do you use power, how do you help your family, how do you help your community, and that's what these plays are about.
Yes, yes, but it's like if you look at the lyrics in hip hop, it's really Old English, and if you don't know Old English, you don't know iambic pentameter, they don't, they might know, like Jay-Z knows what he's doing. He knows his pentameter, he knows his Shakespeare. You can really go back and look at the sonnets and say, oh, okay, this is what he's doing. But a lot of hip hop artists really are coming from angry, misogynist kind of place, and it's not conducive to theater. I don't think we're going to get a female audience coming into our theater to see a play where they are denigrated.
Now, I agree, but of course you're sort of stereotyping hip-hop as being misogynist and totally angry. But much of the hip-hop, as you say, with Jay-Z, is beautiful stuff.
Yes.
So in terms of bridging this gap, shouldn't there be a communication?
But Jay-Z's not going to write a play and give me a play.
How do you know that?
Because we've asked...
You've seen the show.
we've asked Jay-Z. Yeah, man.
Well, this is
we've asked P. Diddy. He will act in it, but he won't. He's not going to write no play.
Well, we'll see.
No, I've tried.
I know you've tried, but hope springs eternal.
Right.
Now, you're going to have a celebration of the 40th anniversary, and you're going to reprise some of these things that we talked about. Where's the celebration going to be? When's it going to be? And who's going to be there?
Okay, the celebration is Sunday, May 22nd, and it's going to be at the Edison Ballroom at 240 West 47th Street here in New York City. We are honoring Sidney Poitier, Ruby Dee, Alicia Keys, Amiri Baraka, you know, Ntozake Shange, who wrote for Color Girls, the Honorable David Dinkins, Imhotep Gary Byrd, Reverend Malcolm Boyd, Terrie Williams, who is a pioneer, promoter, public relations person, Carla Pinza, one of the top Hispanic artist directors in the business, the Reverend Malcolm Boyd, Elizabeth McCann, a Broadway producer, and Sylvia Hamlin, and the phenomenal, dazzling George Faison. And to present these awards to them are Danny Glover, Upatha Murkison, Sonia Sanchez, Susan Taylor, Tommy Hicks, Spike Lee. It's like an unbelievable, Whoopi Goldberg will be there, Robert Townsend, just an unbelievable array of people who, in one sense, have worked at New Federal Theater or came through New Federal Theater and was impressed by what we've done. And so they're coming back for this gala reunion and fundraiser. And we are, like all theaters, we are suffering. And so we hope we can sell out. We hope we can get some corporations and foundations to buy tables, because that's how everybody survives. We just don't have the kind of corporate people who can do that, who are willing to do that. We might have them, but they don't, I think, know our situation.
If anyone wants to buy a ticket or tickets, how do they get in touch with you?
They just go to our website. They can pay online. They can call us. Our website is www.newfederaltheater.org. That's www.newfederaltheater.org. And if they don't want to go online, they can just call us up and give us their credit card number. And our phone number is 212-353-1176.
I see you've done this a lot. One way of communicating is for people to know how to get in touch with you.
Yes.
Now, in terms of the theater itself, what are your projections, let's say, for the next 10 years?
Okay, I think the stories are going to become more psychological. I think the stories are going to be more in-depth psychologically. We're going to explore things, not so much as the event on stage, A, B, C, D, but the psychological implications of the event on stage. And we're beginning to get those plays. And I think African-American women playwrights are going to just go through unbelievable evolution, because there are so many that are writing wonderful works now. Off-Broadway, Lynn Nottage, Katori Hall, it's just these artists are just excellent,
Well, you have done this for so long, you have such insight, you know so many people. Who's going to take Woodie King Jr.'s place as the movement goes along?
Well, what I'm always looking for, I mentor 5 or 6 young people, who really start off really wanting to do theater, but the theater is very, very hard. It has to be a part of who you are. And a long time ago, I realized if you're doing something you love, you cannot always make a living at it. You got to find something else. Young people now are much more educated with 2 or 3 degrees. When we came out, we had 1 degree. Then we had to go back and get another one. Then go back and get another one. So it's a different kind of ball game. What I always find is if an organization has a strong board of directors, when that leader leaves, that board will select someone to stand behind. And even though and the late Joseph Papp told me this, he said, you can pick someone and swear this person is it. You're gone 3 months, the board fires them. Because that person must be able to communicate with that board of directors because they got to be the ones that support what he or she is doing. And I think a lot of people come in with as if it's their thing, and nonprofits are not like that.
That's definitely the
Yeah,
case.
nonprofits are very unique and different. They're set up as nonprofits for very specific reasons. And those reasons are like you get a good chairman, you get a good secretary treasurer, you get a good set of committees. And if you have those committees, then things will work better than if you try to do it alone.
In your case, are you able to attract some of the younger African Americans with more resources to join your board?
No, I'm not.
Why?
I think the theater hasn't been attractive. The theater talks. It's not like dance. You know, you can abstract it. You can say, oh, God, it didn't say anything, but it looks good. But theater actually talks. It says, I don't like you. It says, I love you. It says, I hate you. It actually talks, and people take opinions. And usually young African Americans who are really moving into corporate America, they are really more about assimilating into the white American culture. So it is easy for them to be one of 20 on a board of white Americans. And they can really say A is B and B is C, and the white Americans, they don't know. They believe them, you know?
But there is a new generation of people, because of the plays that Woodie King has produced and people see, who are more concerned with projecting the needs and concerns of African Americans. And I think as you have this 40th anniversary celebration, as people see this show and other shows, they'll be motivated to join the board. And I'm sure you'd welcome them.
I would welcome them.
I know you would.
I would welcome Ed Lewis. I would welcome a Byron Lewis. I would welcome a Dr. Roscoe.
Thank you.
But I know these Americans are so inundated. You know, it's like you can only do so much. You know, you can only give so much, and not putting you on the spot, but you were the chairman of the Negro Ensemble Company 20 years ago, 25 years ago, working, giving, you know.
That's true.
And, you know, Ed Lewis, you know, really took over Bruce Llewellyn's thing and is trying to, you know, keep that going. The people who are capable are grabbed right away, you know, and asked to do
But
so much.
one of the things about African American Legends program, we have an audience of people throughout the African American community who want to do something.
Okay.
So if they want to join your board, they can
they
call that number.
They can call. If they want to join my board, me and my chairman, Cliff Frazier, goes out, take them to a nice dinner, talk to them, tells them everything. All they have to do is call me, Woodie King.
And the number is?
212-353-1176.
You know, it's so much fun talking with you, Woodie. I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot.
Okay.
Of all the various plays dealing with the black community, which 2 or 3 do you think have had the most impact on our culture?
For colored girls who consider suicide when the rainbow is enough, changed the way we look at theater. It was the invention of something called the choreo poem, where poetry is choreographed and put on stage.
And that started at New Federal.
All right, New Federal, okay. The other play, I have to name two other playwrights, Ed Bullen's work, Amiri Baraka's work, and a specific play by a woman named Marcia Leslie called The Trial of One Short-Sighted Black Woman versus Mammy Louise and Safrida May. A unique play. Everyone thought it was going to go to Broadway and change the culture. But I think white America said, we don't know if we want that on Broadway. We are working now 24/7 trying to do a play off Broadway that was hugely successful at New Federal Theater called Knock Me a Kiss. And Knock Me a Kiss, those who may not know, is W.B. Du Bois' daughter, Yolanda, married Connie Collins. And it was a marriage of the century. It was supposed to be the marriage of the century, the culture of literature coming together with one of the best families. And the marriage proved to be an unbelievable disaster because Connie Collins, wasn't into women, but he married her. And so it takes place in that moment. And it really focuses on Du Bois' disappointment and trying to pull a talented tenth together within his family.
Well, you certainly, over 40 years, know the story and have told the story of the black community. I look forward to the next 40 years with Woodie King Jr. and want to congratulate you on the 40 years of the New Federal Theater.
Yeah, buy a ticket. I hope the audience out there buy a ticket and come and help us keep it going for another 40 years.
Thank you, Woodie.
Thank you.